brain sluice, slick with ectoplasmic juice.
Static energy, a fire that fuels our memory.
With genealogy, with spiritual topography.
Questions for your answers, we are data necromancers.
Physical dynamo, I'm a physical dynamo. A physical dynamo, I'm a physical dynamo. Speak it into existence and you can have that shit right now.
You can have it right now, you can have it maybe later, you can have
Whenever you want.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to episode number 42. 42 is when you let the guy stand on top of your shoulders. And then...
What's the 2?
Oh, wait, I'm thinking of just a 4. Wait.
Hey, baby.
Hey, baby,
You want to do a 4 with me? Like, wait, like with 2 other people? No, just us.
No,
we're going to make a
42,
4.
you would need 2 people.
At least.
No, 4 people, I mean. Sorry.
I want to see your Kama Sutra that you wrote.
Oh, dude. Like, fucking drop a bunch of acid and get a feather pen. And
you're like, would that work? Would that work? Can I flex? Am I too, what?
I wanted to start off. So, obviously, as the editor of our pod, we hit like a lull. We've had a couple bangers, but it's in terms of like the podcast. You and I don't ever stop, which is part of the practice. But nothing has, looking back at some of the earlier ones when you and I were fucking like popping off hard.
Yeah.
I realize that at this chapter in my life, it's hard to find things that make my dick rock hard, that like get me popping off really hard. And nothing's really been on my mind too much lately. But I listened to, oh God, wait, I don't even know his name. Yes, I wrote it down. A podcast, a Duncan Trussell podcast episode with, is it Eben Alexander?
Dr. Eben Alexander.
He is a neurosurgeon and I think also a neuroscientist at Harvard. And he had a near-death experience, and he talked a lot about NDEs. And I felt blood rushing to my soul boner for the first time in a really long time. And it made me rejuvenated and excited to come to the pod, to pick your brain, because you immediately listened to it too. Because this speaks to me. He is a scientist who is saying that he's just angry that a lot of this documented, proof-based, evidence-based, solved cases of, I don't know what you want to group all that into, parapsychology, past lives, reincarnation, telepathy, and all that stuff. He's like, mainstream scientists won't fucking touch it because it makes them mad.
Because of their emphasis on scientific empiricism, where you have to measure it and test it and, have physical evidence.
Well, and it sounds like, though, that he brought up cases where they're solved and they've been studied and they've gone through the fucking gamut.
Yeah.
And all scientists were like, yes, there's proof. This actually happens.
Yeah.
But it pisses off people on a spiritual sense.
Well, maybe you should give a short summary of what his experience was, and then we'll talk about what we think about it.
Yeah, so he had an NDE...
Near-death experience
from a severe case of meningitis. And it's so funny when a scientist talks about NDEs to me, because I'm like, oh, y'all have never done drugs. It's so cute the way y'all nerds talk about it.
It's funny. He talks about DMT later on in the podcast, because he's like, he needs to like, he wants to compare the two. But it was cool because he said that the experience that he felt through his NDE was like the grand gateway valley, whatever.
Yes.
But then the DMT experience of it was like peering at it through a keyhole.
Sure. Absolutely. Because also too, you can't access the realm that the NDEs are experienced in because everybody who's had it, their brain is dying. Like they're actually, you know, the brain is damaged. They're dying. They're leaving their body. They're going to have access to way more than if you're to hit acid or.
Yeah, it's so wild that like brain death or like brain pause is what needs to happen in order for your spirit to experience.
In order for you to fucking peak, though, like you've got to slip out. Right?
It's like, hold up. Oh shit, that was the best thing I've ever felt.
And it brings up a lot of emotions for me because I feel like the prolific experiences I've had in meditation hit me like an NDE. Probably, you know, turned down quite a ways. But nonetheless, it's still this prolific infiltration that fucking hits every goddamn sense and leaves you with a knowing of something greater. And it changes your life.
And a deep appreciation, I think.
100%. Another thing that got triggered in me is he talks about Anita Morhani, who was also a scientist who was dying from lymphoma. And during her NDE, she mind melded with her brother. So mind melding just meaning like she becomes her brother or like kind of glues herself.
Or like throws her mind at his mind. And they
right. So she was on the plane from Hong Kong going to India, like with her brother, feeling her brother's thoughts and emotions.
Who was dying? Her brother was?
She was dying.
Oh, okay.
She's melding with the people on the way to the funeral or whatever, or on the way to see her in the hospital. And she mind melded with her dad, who was already dead. And it reminded me, I've mind melded once. And it is, I remember sprawled out on a really fancy hotel floor after doing 3 hits of acid. And I collapsed into sand and I sunk into the sand and came out sand on the other side. And I was wearing like Egyptian peasant garb or something, like something I had never fucking seen before. Wearing like, you know, like a hood and tattered things. And then looking at Lucas, who was a different man who had like a beard. And he was looking at me funny because it was like, what, something going on? And I'm like, oh, and I'm like looking around and it's just a fucking desert. And I'm like, I sink back into the sand. And then I pop up again on my friend Trey. Trey is a bartender I worked with in Baltimore for a few years. And I'm reading a book at a bar. Like suddenly, like just, whoa. Yeah. It's like, just like really relaxing, drinking water, whatever. And I fucking like sink down again and come back up and I go, whoa, this acid's really fucking intense. And it felt like the Egyptian garb thing felt like 1,000 years ago. And it felt like I had just been slingshot back. I was like, how long was I gone? It felt like it was gone forever.
You should see the movie Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yes, I've been told that.
Because that sort of, the experience that you describe is like popping in and out of different universes that are all happening at the same time. Yeah. But the way that you describe like going into the past, like that makes me think about the, how did Dr. Alexander describe it? He was talking about the fourth dimension like collapsed into a diamond, and then we're all like a facet on the diamond. And how it also reminded me of Slaughterhouse-Five by Kurt Vonnegut, because there's a species in his kind of world called the Tralfamadorians, and they exist in the fifth dimension. So when they look at us, they see us as like a long undulating worm with like a baby, like the baby worm version of us at the tip beginning, and then the old decrepit version of us at the end. Like they see every moment all at once. Like they have access to all the unfolding of time. And I've always thought, and Aaron and I talked about this briefly yesterday when we were prepping, like Don't you think if time travel was going to be invented that we would already know about it?
Right. I think about this whenever I watch Terminator.
Yeah.
Because I was like, oh, so if he never went back,
He went back within the
hold on.
future.
It's like he caused the whole uprising just
Right.
by being against them. So if he never did that, then it just...
But
I've grasped the concept of us understanding and still not knowing if time traveling was already invented, because it's something that would never be constant. Like we would assume, oh, this is a constant thing that we can do. But if you're always jumping back or going ahead or altering the timeline, then you're not bringing everybody with you.
well, and that brings a different sort of interpretation of what that would mean. Because what if every time you went back in the timeline, you like create a new split off of events, and that one that you left is still going on, but the one that you like went back and started again, like that's a new branch.
Right.
I think that's part of some prevailing theory. I forget.
And then also like the collective consciousness, I think if you were to leave it and dip in, I don't know, I feel like fucking with that would be hard. I don't think it would be super linear.
The collective consciousness, like the one mind that we all share.
Right, because that's what they talk about in the NDE, right?
Yeah.
Is how scientific materialism is essentially crumbling because there's horrific inaccuracies.
What was the word you said? Scientific what?
Materialism.
That's what I was looking for.
Where, because essentially what he's saying is we manifest our reality, and there's a fuck ton of evidence that we do that. And he gave, he's like, there are hundreds of scientists all over the world who are studying this, and this is a thing that nobody, wants to fucking admit. And I love that. Because to me, science should be curious, discerning, and open. But it is not that way.
Yeah, it's like if you guys are on the frontiers of what we know and understand about reality, you should be pushing the envelope and questioning every established interpretation of reality that we all agree upon. Like, let's see, what movie was I watching? Where did I pick up this piece of information? World War Z, maybe? There was like, it was World War Z. And like, so there was a man in Israel, and they had like built a wall around their city, just like on a hunch, because they weren't sure how to deal with like the zombie thing. So they're like, let's build a wall. But the principle that they behaved on was like, there always must be one person who dissents. Like everybody can't agree, because if everybody agrees, then you don't have all your bases covered. So the reason why they built a wall was because one person dissented to what was happening. Like they were like, I know this doesn't make any sense, but I think it's a zombie apocalypse. So, and everybody's like, that's fucking stupid. He's like, but I have to disagree with you guys. So that's what we're going to go off of. So I feel like dissent is such an essential facet of like anticipating what could happen.
Progress.
Yeah. Like
Evolution.
you can't know everything. You can't predict everything. And I think if you limit your understanding of reality, you just think like, oh, well, we figured everything out. We know how everything works.
And this is the ruler in which we measure.
Oh, all this stuff back
forever.
here, don't pay attention to
Forever.
that. We don't know what this is, but we're just going to ignore it. That's what they're doing with parapsychology stuff. It's like, let's ignore it because we don't understand it.
Well, Jessica Utz. So Jessica Utz was the head of the American Statistical Association in 2015. I think she still is. She's a analysis investigating precognition and remote viewing. She said this would have been science, actual, real, unquestionable science a long time ago if it wasn't something that pushed a lot of people's buttons. And she stated that people recoil when spirituality is brought up, despite having mounds and mounds of evidence to support it. Also, I was reading a little bit about Jessica Utz. So she's a professor of statistics at UC, University of California. UC. Davis. And she was one of 2 experts commissioned by the CIA to review 2 decades worth of U.S. government psychic research. I was like, oh, how sick would that be if that shit fucking showed up?
They were like, hey, Ms. Utz, Dr. Utz, do you? And she's like,
right. And the government kept their whole remote. They did a lot of remote viewing, and they did a lot of.
Oh, because they're trying to spy on the Russians.
Yeah. And they found out they had credible people. And they were talking about how, like, with telepathy, God, I can feel how fractured this conversation is. And I'm so sorry.
No, the people who listen, they follow.
Okay, good. She was talking about how in one experiment, is there another word? Experiment? Module? Test? I don't know. Experiment. They had regular people do the telepathy.
Study, you could say.
Modality. And she's like, 30% of them can do that. And then they got gifted people who are known.
Who have practiced.
Who are practitioners. And it fucking went up to like 60% of them could, do that. And I was like, oh, it's such a bummer. It's almost purposeful that our brains are put in a vice grip and we're not allowed to understand our own power a little bit.
Why? I have a theory, but I want to ask you why. Why are our brains put in a vice grip?
Christ.
Yeah.
It's just fucking rude.
It doesn't gel with religion.
Just driving from Green, Texas to Austin, you're like church, Domino's, church. And I was just like, no one's at the churches. The buildings are abandoned. You go to them for 2 hours on one day of the week. It's just like this thing that needs to evolve and morph and transform. And okay, it got us to where we stopped raping kids and pillaging and murdering.
Yeah,
but like
it pulled us out of barbarism, but did it?
I don't know.
In some cases, it exacerbated our barbarism.
100%. So
I was gonna say, like, the expansive oceanic consciousness, like the one mind sort of understanding of our experience of reality, is not conducive to like a productive civilization. Like, you don't want to go to work and do all of that stuff if you know the truth.
Productive as the really broad, lame, immature way that we know it now.
Yeah,
Imagine
exactly.
if we unlocked the potential.
I want Whitney's Utopia.
Productive.
I want that.
Be.
We're building stargates, boy.
We're building stargates, you bitch. Hop on.
Where would they go?
God, where did we? I mean, I think I followed that through.
I feel like we're being cohesive and coherent.
I just like edit this and I go, Whitney, you never stop. You didn't finish that either.
It's probably because I interject.
No, I think you keep me bound in a good way. Oh, but he was also talking about the brain as a filter for non-local consciousness and how they have evidence to support that. And the spiritual and the mental create the physical and not the other way around. And he kind of tears Darwin a new one, which I fucking love, because we really accepted Darwin and everything he said as like holy gospel, and it wasn't ever really questioned the way that it should be, or the way that often other theory. I mean, evolution is, he wasn't specifically tearing apart evolution. He was tearing apart our interpretation of survival of the fittest. Because I forget what word he said.
Yeah, I thought I wrote down something about that part.
He said this word is used twice, which is essentially the word that...
Natural selection.
Yeah, but he said the word love is used 96 times in his theory of evolution, but nobody, people took the, I'm the strongest and I will fucking survive. And then he said that really affected all of the science studies.
Yeah, I thought that he wasn't necessarily disparaging of Darwin himself.
No, it was.
But like, the people who used Darwinism, or like his theory of natural selection, as a scientific weapon,
yes,
to like dismantle, I don't know, let's see, the associated spiritual experience brought them back to life, harvest the beautiful love of the universe, militant atheism weaponized Darwinism. So yeah, you would think that like militant atheism in an effort to like dismantle like the huge religious hold that the main patriarchal religions had on society would be a good thing.
Right.
But it erased that.
It didn't make room for anything else.
Right. It was just like what you see is what you got. And you can't, there's no delving into like what's behind.
Right. It's almost, it's growing out of resistance versus,
actual truth seeking.
Exactly. Which is a little bit more open and a little bit more casting a wider net versus like, fuck you and fuck you guys, which I feel the same way about organized religion, but
it's so shallow for
all
your
the fucking fun.
Yeah, it's like your shallow existence is just a refutation of something else. Like
Yes.
you're not actually trying to discover what reality is. You're just like, well, I know it's not that. It's like, okay, go off. Who cares?
There are so many things that remind me that the earth will quake, the Yellowstone
Super
volcano
volcano.
will fucking erupt. The moment that the last person from that generation, so boomers, baby boomers, where things got buttoned up and rigidity, but it was also at the same time, every man for himself, and it deeply affected how we do everything, and its effects were lasting. We still see it today. We see it in the pharmaceutical company and in the environment and the economy and all these different facets that they just fucking ruined. But at the time when they were creating it, it was great and fun and everybody was cashing in. But the whole earth is going to quake when everybody from that generation dies, because we had to move on to like, okay, now we're not all pining to be the CEO of some corporation.
Toilet paper corporation.
It grew and grew and grew and grew, and now it has to change because now things are different and the landscape is different and the timeline, different elements in the timeline will always morph, but we don't think that. It's like, well, you guys need to be studying science the way we did. It's like, no, we found out that you were wrong, or we found out that the way you did it wasn't perfect. Well, no, but we wrote the book. You see that in archaeology all the time. Like, no, that will fuck the timeline. You can't put it in. And you're like, what is with that? Is your dick that small?
Yeah.
Do you hate fucking? Like, I don't understand what is manifesting here. It's insecurity.
I think when I don't know, I'm just speaking out of my tushy. When a scientist thinks that they've discovered the truth, they'll sort of cling to that truth, whether
like
it's
Dingleberry.
actually, whether it actually describes reality or not, because that was their accomplishment. I don't know. I could see like that shallow search for ego-driven scientific discovery.
You see it with Graham Hancock's. He came out with, what was it called? Ancient Apocalypse. The Ancient Apocalypse. So his theory. He has a theory about.
The great, the younger dryads.
Yes, thank you.
That's what it is.
And he was an investigative journalist who, decades and decades ago, started in archaeology and was unearthing all these alternate timelines, and all these scientists, few and far between, going like,
oh, this isn't possible. No, this isn't possible.
Oh, wait, look at this.
He's a
guy.
quack. He's a quack.
And then he was called racist because he was retelling indigenous tribes have folklore of this white person with long white beard coming after this great disaster and helping people kind of like rebuild.
Yeah.
And he's like, I didn't say this, they did. Like, why am but he's the messenger and I watched the whole thing in like 48 fucking hours.
Yeah.
Because I love alternate theories. And it's like, why are you going to get mad at somebody who's proposing a different theory? He doesn't say it's fact. He just presents all these sites around the world that don't fit into the timeline, that are real and are there and are way older than we suspect them to be, and is just offering a different perspective. And you're not going to allow the audience to discern whether they want to believe in that or not. And they should be crucified for offering some other information that doesn't fit the paradigm.
It's interesting because I feel like people in groups are very easily swayed to believe whatever they're hearing or seeing. Like,
idolatry.
Yeah, like people are in groups are very prone to idolatry or like focusing on one thing. So I don't know, it's like the Big Brother thing, like we have to protect the populace from this mind-numbing, brain-melting information they won't understand. We have to protect them from what they won't understand. It's like, I want to be the judge of that. You know? So there was another part. There was another part of the pod podcast. So egotoxicity, selfishness, greed, cultural buy-in to scientific materialism, bottom-up causality, everything is separate. So I thought it was really interesting how addiction in all its myriad forms
He brought
was
up
like
the opioid crisis.
an expression of egotoxicity. Yeah, bitch. That's fire, dude.
It is fucking fire because Megan and I have addicts, know them, have them in our family, in our lineage, in our bloodline.
Oh, we got them, boys.
We met them. We know what kind of people they are.
We've been around them. We've been with them.
And one thing that is so predominantly pervasive in an addict
Can't get out of their own.
it is only them. And you're not supposed to take it personally because their ego has fucking consumed them.
It is out of control.
It is out of control. Only they matter. And there is no regard to any possible consequence that it might have on anyone near them.
It's like so twisted because everything that happens to them happens to them. Like it's all the events, all the timeline, all the places, all the things, all the people is their shit. And that, of course, they're fucking crazy. Of course, they are experiencing this need to like suppress that because that's completely exhausting and terrifying.
And I feel like the more you hurt others, the more you won't look at reality. Right? The more you'll just keep doing drugs because of the pain that you're creating. Right?
Right. Yeah, you can't
look at what
force
you've
yourself to look at the damage that you've caused. And like thinking about scientific materialism and like separating everything out, this also goes back to the Graham Hancock thing because his idea was, why don't we look at all this shit holistically? Like, why don't all of these different disciplines, archaeology, geology, astronomy, all this different shit
come together?
Why don't we think about this one thing together and bring all of our different expertise to sort of create a holistic theory of reality, as opposed to you stay over there, study the stars, you stay over there, study the rocks, and then you try and do some anthropological theorizing based off of this archaeology.
Every archaeologist who had alternate theories were looking at all of the factual.
Yeah.
And they were looking at everything all together. Mm-hmm. You also have to talk to the historical meteorologists. I don't know, like
yeah.
people who study weather or whatever. And that to me sounds like great Puritan college, fucking, here's the thing and you must be very good at that one thing because there's so much to know about that one thing.
You must exhaust every avenue of that one thing. It also brings me back to this idea where men are specialists and women are generalists. Because like if our society has been predominated by patriarchal thinking, is that why everything is so segmented and separate? Like, all these dudes are specialists in their field, but they refuse to integrate like the greater sort of more general holistic knowledge that would be more descriptive of reality. I don't know. I get hung up on the men as specialists, women as generalists thing. I feel like that's why our world is so fucked up, because you've just been corralled into these little zones.
I need you to build a bridge as high as you can, and it's one lane, and no one else matters. Stairs for one person.
And yeah, don't get me wrong. That's how we've achieved a lot of incredible feats, by specializing in things. I'm not saying people shouldn't specialize.
Yeah, but then the socioeconomic fucking landscape is everyone else suffers and dies. But you know what? Look at this cool. We all get a cell phone and a laptop, and it's all pretty affordable. And
I've got like 5 pairs of shoes.
She's got 5 pairs of shoes. I've got 2 microphones.
It's pretty cool.
Things will swing back into the balance. It is hard to get women, though, to recognize their power a little bit. But that, I think we've talked a lot about that. I liked how long that theme has lasted.
Because I
gotta get that Naomi Wolf about patriotism and how the fucking country's dying. I forgot about the chick who wrote the book Vagina also wrote a book about how the
end of America.
Yeah, I was like, I need that too.
Yeah, I mean, we keep coming back to those themes because they're just so relevant for our experience.
Something to do with existing.
We're not one-trick ponies. We got more to talk about, but it's all connected, bro. I wanted to get your take on the Gateway Valley, I think is what he's described it as. Or Duncan was calling it the Butterfly Valley. Where you are just sort of like a floating butterfly.
Well, he saw the thread of the soul and in the way it spun incarnate and in between lives and incarnate and in between lives. Like he saw the whole picture, and we were all like buds of dew or something in a web.
Indra's web. He talked about Indra's web.
You're getting to peak. You're getting a little peak, man. You dipped out of your brain. You dipped out of your body. You get to see the machine. It's like the fucking Pixar movie Soul. It's like I picture Looney Tunes. Yeah, it's the gears of suffering. Like, I saw somebody post, God, this video always makes me mad. If God exists, then why do kids get cancer?
I mean, that's a huge topic in religious studies. It's called theodicy. It's like, if God was real, then why would he allow suffering?
Because it's not a person or a he or has anything to do with fucking anything. It's like but here's the person that comes from like experiencing eternal bliss during meditation and whatever. And has gotten a glimpse of like, you don't get it. The suffering is why we're here. And the suffering is caused from our separation from God. And God is not some fucking dude going like, I have a gift. Do you want to?
I heard your prayer last night, so I filled your car with marshmallows. I hope you're happy.
And I collected the things that you needed, and then I handed it. It's like, no. We're doing all that.
Yeah, I think the questioning of why God would allow suffering is a certain group of people asking a certain group of people, like, oh, you're all-knowing, all-loving, you're omnipotent, omniscient God will let all these cruel things exist. It's like when they set up the dynamic between God and the devil, they're like, why would God make the devil?
Right, so it's like the Bell experiment. Like they're putting electrons through a fucking slit, and you're like, oh, this is completely not what I ever talk about. Okay.
It's their conception of God is entirely different from what
I feel much better now. after clarifying, because I'm just like, have you guys picked up any fucking metaphysical book? It's like, no. You're just saying,
because they're so fringe. Like there's no time in any mainstream life where they're presented with those types of fringe theories unless they seek them out.
I've spent 24 years like reading stuff like that and
but you're a seeker.
I am a seeker.
Like I just read The Cosmic Habit Force by Mitch Horowitz, and he refers to people who have that desire to, look outside of what is prescribed traditionally or like mainstream sort of, we're seekers. We're seeking the truth.
It's really shitty, but those are the only kind of friends I want.
Is it shitty? I feel like anybody could be a seeker. They just have to actively seek. They have to be curious.
And how often, Megan, do you find somebody like that?
I don't know. I want to believe that you could turn anybody into a seeker if they were willing. Like you could be like, dude, I dropped this knowledge on you. And then if it like takes root and makes them curious, and I think that's a seeker now. But I don't think if someone is resistant to those ideas that they're going to be the type of friend that you want to keep.
Yeah, well, okay, I need to speak with anonymity.
Anonymity.
There's people in my life where I'm like, yeah, like where I feel like I'm always doing like the puppety dance and I don't get to be who I really am ever. And I'll like bring it up and they're like, no. And they're like, okay, I don't know how to end this. I've known you a really long time, but I can't hide anymore. And I don't want to not talk about the things that I want to talk about because you just don't think it's interesting or want to even... You don't even have to believe in it, but you could just like juggle with me. We could juggle
entertain this idea. Like, let's rap about it. Let's see like what we can fucking discover.
No, instead it's just like, yeah, can we go to Target? Like,
dude, I love going to Target, but can we talk
to
about Satanism while we're there?
Because I feel like if I don't get to express my thoughts, I'm going to get a hemorrhoid. Like that's why the podcast is still going. It doesn't make any money. But it's not for you. It's for
so
me.
Fun.
It's and you know, being kicked in the back into the YouTube realm, I realized that the difference between me and then the people who were making a living on YouTube were just their willingness to put it out there. And I was like, I'm gonna dig around in my pocket. I've got willingness somewhere. Wait, I can figure this out. I will be both, you know, because it's so easy if you are a seeker and you like truth and you don't like playing the game and you don't like doing any of that, to be like, I'm not playing the fucking YouTube game. Like that's the last game I want to play. Yeah. See? It's like no.
So I was looking at a Discord last night, and I don't remember if it was Dasco, maybe it was Dasco, who posted a link to the history of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches.
This is what I'm missing in my own Discord. Like,
so, and I forget the dude's name who does the show, but I was watching this dude talk about the history of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and I so dig food history. It's definitely my bag, if you will. It's my shit. But the way in which, and he's like a super popular, successful YouTuber, but I could never see myself being so like presentable or organized or like thumbnail oriented. I was just, after the video was over, I was just like sitting.
Did you like the video? Or it was boring?
I was bored, yeah. But it was, I realized that I'm not really interested in like long form expression.
No one on Instagram is.
Well, yeah, that's
handedly. I need
sort
it
of
to
where
be 30 seconds long.
Sort of where I'm at. But
oh, there it is.
Yeah. I thought the information that was presented was very interesting, but there was nothing funny. And
it's not fun. You and I need the funny. If it's not fucking funny.
But another interesting aspect of it was this guy started his food history journey by taking these classes on discs that by Ken Albala. And I remember like that being my spark to go into the food world too. Like I was given these things by Ken Albala, and I read some of his stuff and I was like, food is fucking dope, but I want to study it. What the fuck?
Something that was in front of you the entire time.
Yeah. And I went to culinary school wanting to get a foundation of food knowledge so that I could become a food writer / historian kind of thing.
Food YouTuber is the fucking modern version.
So that's what this guy did, but he decided to go the YouTube food historian route, and he does cook and bake and all those things too. But I got a job as a line cook, and I just never looked back. But I do feel like food history and its effect on me and my interest in it is reflected in my videos.
Megan, I would watch the shit out of a scripted voiceover of you, like your entire embodied self because I learned so much from you.
Well, it's ain't it? And it's
And I feel
like it comes out.
And I feel like you're really good at finding B-roll and music. Like,
Aww.
the videos would arguably be more work, but I mean, it's just like, I'd watch the shit out of that.
But the thing is, I'm not resistant to more work. I love working, but it's like there's something that's so clean about his presentation. It doesn't feel honest.
Right. Well, or what I hate, which is what a lot of people do, they put out what they think people want.
Yeah, and that's
you're like
icky.
You're like that. Like we always come back to Aaron feeling like he's got to wear his funny clothes, and it's like, Aaron, people want your authentic self. And I've been told that in the motorcycle realm, they're like, there's just something so different about you. I'm like, yeah, I'm not trying. I'm not thinking, okay, well, as working at another channel, what does this group of people want to see? So then they write in that. And that's what makes bad TV to me too. I'm like, this isn't how people would actually talk. This is how you think they would talk.
But that type of creative, like marketing creative kind of thing, proliferates. Like, because everybody's trying to make money. And when you're trying to make money, you're trying to anticipate what's going to stick. And I feel like that's a bad way to make art.
Yes. But so many people do it not that way, you know.
Oh, of course. And some people do it that way and are successful in what they seek because they want to make money. And that's great. Everybody's got to do them.
What?
I'm just so resistant to it.
Well, don't ever do it. I don't ever want you to do it either.
I don't want to do it.
Nobody's making you do it.
The way we do it.
Although it sounds like part of you, why else would you bring it up?
I'm wrestling with it.
Yeah. But don't make stuff like that. Make history videos or religion or food.
Yeah.
But you don't ever have to squish yourself in. It's the same thing I struggled with too. And it's always hard because there's no roadmap. You know, you see only this as a roadmap and you know that that's not the only way to get there. Yeah.
And not to disparage that guy. I mean, I like his approach. It's just like very,
look, people pleaser.
It's like
you
quite
don't have to
buttoned
fucking
up.
apologize. You can say you don't like it. You know, you can say
it's not for me.
It's not for you. Yeah. You don't have to apologize.
But I also, and not in like a total people pleasing way, I want to support that dude's drive to do what he's doing. Like, respect. It takes effort to like create things. So props. But it's not for me.
But she's wrestling with something.
I'm always wrestling with something. So Duncan in that podcast also talked about addiction and drugs and how some people, like it seems like some people are deliberately suiciding with their consumption. I wrote down disguising their slow annihilation as some form of intense recreation. It's like people who indulge very, very deeply. It's like, wait, are you just trying to off yourself in like a really slow way? It made me think of my father. It made me think of your
both
father.
My parents. It's just like, I remember my dad so often when he was binge eating, be like, I don't know why I do this. I don't know why I do this. And then I'm just like, this is marvelous. Like just watching you spend $40 at a gas station which is a feat.
No shit. Everything's 99 cents.
But also that to him was like fun. I'm like, you don't want to go to the bakery and get like a goodie? It's like, no, it had to be
shit. Trash.
Utter garbage.
Yeah.
In watching him go through some sort of existential struggle, like, why do I do this? I'm like, part of you's asking for help, but I can't get you out of it. It's
that's an addiction.
It's an addiction, and it's an acceptable addiction, just like, alcoholism is, social alcoholism.
Oh, addiction is so acceptable in our society because consumption is acceptable in our society. It's preferred. Consumption is preferred. All of its forms.
And so is hustling. How do I get the money to get the stuff to do the thing? And then how do I pick the thing that it's the whole process is it's
all in service to, I don't know. I wish we could resurrect Ayn Rand and have a discussion, an argument with her about the almighty dollar, because she came from like a communist purview and she thought that capitalism was the fucking best because it was like your job to do what you were going to do, and it all was about like glorifying the individual and like ambitions and power.
So once again,
free
something
will
that is growing out of resistance to what they were steeped in.
So I think that
he heard a squirrel, or
he
said the magic word. He's like, I gotta go. See you later. Oh.
Is the door open?
Yes, I do not know how he went underneath the tripod just now.
That was amazing. I read a couple Ayn Rand books. I read The Fountainhead. I read Atlas Shrugged. I thought they were good, but it didn't make me want to like strive to be a millionaire.
How does he do that?
The biggest thing that I struggled with in Cosmic Habit Force was like getting money. And like thinking about the sum of money that you are going to get.
I feel like you are a little out of balance when it comes to, there is a big rejection in the way that I've known you for years. There is to a deficit.
Interesting.
I don't think that what's the best way to say this without being like pregnant brain lady? Your rejection is so strong, it's not balanced.
Interesting.
Which, and I totally fucking vibe with you there. You're like, yeah, but you need this thing. You need the laptop. That was like a big struggle with you.
Definitely.
But look at the life you came from. I mean, it's not like you were slated to be balanced when it came to money.
Yes. I just wonder, like, if we are all going to die one day and return to the one mind, why is it so important?
Because we're in the third dimension. It's the same reason you got to eat food and wipe your butt. I mean,
I love doing those things. But as far as like, I don't know, I'm just not totally sold on why I have to, I don't even know how to articulate it. Like, what am I resistant to? Accumulation of wealth?
Picturing wealth, spending money on yourself.
Because it feels so shallow.
Yeah, see, that to me is a little, it's just like, there's a point to where you're like, oh, I need this. I need more than just this one thing. Like, balance.
Yeah, I feel like Aaron and John Paul have been hinting at that with me too.
Because we want to see you like, Megan, we're not asking you to buy a mansion. Basic stuff. Like, I think you're in a deficit to where the bar money, regular money bar, you are resistant to that spending in a way that makes.
Will you describe what that looks like to you? Like what regular spending
Megan, you
would
still
be?
have those shoes. What regular spending looks like?
Yeah, like what would that look like?
You buy. You're like, wait, I need to
hang on. Let me write this down.
You don't buy groceries very often. Or, there's a food thing, right?
Yeah,
true. You see what you have the gift though that a lot of us don't, where you can like see what needs to be used. But the few times you've gone grocery shopping for yourself, you overemphasize that to me about how I bought a piece of fish. Like, yes, Megan.
It's special.
It is super special, but to the rest of us, it's just the thing that we do.
Yeah, that's interesting. I feel like I think I get a lot of joy out of regular things.
Oh no, Dasco, you're right. I didn't add everybody.
What happened?
Toaster's been sitting in here for 57 minutes because I didn't ping the Discord.
Oh, fuck a duck.
Oh shit. Well, Dasco, we've been talking about you, and we have 3 minutes left before I'm supposed to go meet Jake if it's not raining.
Oh shit.
You don't like to buy clothes. You don't like to go shopping. You don't like to replace your shoes. You don't like to spend money on therapists. You don't like, Megan, it's hard for me to find something that you are okay spending money with.
Yeah, I understand that that's a thing,
I see it.
but I don't really know what to do with it.
I don't know. What has Aaron and John Paul been hinting at?
They were just hinting at my phone. Like
Yes.
John Paul was like, "You still have a regular
John Paul,
cover on it."
Because you're worthy of getting the stuff that you want. But I understand that it's something I preach to Erica all the time too. But it's like, okay, hands off, do whatever you want to do. But we want to see you, get the stuff that you work so hard for, versus just
like a phone. I don't need a fucking phone. I don't need fucking shoes. I'm trying to enrich right here and right here. I don't really see the connection.
I know. You can have both. Look at what a laptop has done to your life.
Yeah, the laptop has been amazing. I've seriously am trying to wrap my mind around what it would look like for me to I would have a house and a boat and a T-Rex with a little riding like a saddle on a T-Rex. A mechanized T-Rex.
No. Reel it back.
So a pearl necklace.
No. That's where, come on.
I'm eating fucking whole chickens every night. Where's the Veuve Clicquot? I need another bottle of champagne.
See now the fucking seesaw just like smashed your ass on the ground and hit you in the head on the other way.
I have smoked salmon every day for breakfast.
Megan, stop. We're just looking for this.
This is very interesting to me. I don't know.
It might take you a while. You got to go through the motions of what's excess and what's okay. And
okay, I just thought of an example. When you guys got me that oven, and I was like, I'm gonna get a couple cinder blocks to put it on. And you were like, no, can you get a table? I was like, what? Why? Cinder blocks will work. So I guess it's like
poverty mentality. We grow up poor. We live with very little means, and what we do have, we harbor, and it's ours. And I don't need that because my shoes still have rubber on them. And you're like, yeah, but we could,
Oh yeah, it makes me think of a Silver Jews lyric or is it Archers of Loaf? Silver Jews, I think, where he says, I don't want to look poor anymore. And it's like maybe a maturity thing where you have to grow out of,
fine. No, I'm fine. This is fine.
Is that how I am to you?
Not like that, but
I feel like I'm just like an easy little hippie who eats garbage.
But I feel like even a hippie gets more shit than you do. A hippie accumulates more stuff and has more desires than you do. You are also a very I just had it. Oh shit, I just had it. This is fine. This works. Like, this is fine, everything.
Yeah, what is that called?
Hey Lucas, what is that called?
Hey Lucas, what is it called when somebody's okay with everything?
And they have no desire to get anything new?
That sounds negative, though. Is it negative to always be like that?
It does depend.
Did this just become the fucking psychologize Megan hour?
We psychologize in you.
Psychologize my vagina. Okay. That was interesting.
I love it when it goes where we don't anticipate it to go. I also think it's like you have so much style and grace that if you were to step into regular financial function, like your shit would be so fucking cool. Like you would be popping off, you know, because you already find the really cool in what's
In the garbage.
in the garbage.
Yeah, I mean, I see it. Like what I have works, and I don't need to seek beyond that.
You're right.
So I don't know how I would coach myself into wanting things that I don't want.
I think it's a lot of work. I don't think it's something that easy that you could just start doing. I think it is something that, as it's such a big part of who you are, to where it is in parts therapy that Megan is driving the bus all the time. And in parts therapy, you don't want any part to be in charge for that long. Other people need to sit in and take a turn. And that's balance, right? The Megan who wants the nice thing needs to sit in and say, babe, chill. I got this.
Yeah.
She drives a little bit, and then the other Megan who's like, oh, can't spend that right now. Oh, okay. And then she comes in. You're always supposed to be cycling Megans instead of the Megan who's like, trash is king. Look at all the... But it's also really symbolic to me of like your life and how you perceive your own worth.
I feel like it's such a reflection of my resistance to consumerist lifestyle.
I'm sure part of it's that. But I also think part of it's deeper than that.
I know that there's a balance between being like somebody who doesn't want to like buy new things
Because I'm an
versus
idiot,
like
Corgi.
someone who's a Kardashian, like always trying to buy the new trendy thing.
See, but then that's that thinking. You're doing extremist thinking.
I know. I was saying like I think there's a medium between those two places, but I don't know what it looks like.
To go buy a shirt at Target. You know, it's like,
Right.
or you said, what do I do? Eat a roast chicken every night? It's like, no, there's a nice maybe
fucking
2
steak,
nights a week.
bottle of Cabernet. Is that what you want? You want me to put truffles on everything?
You just fling yourself into the sun. But that it's like I can see the Megan that's been driving the bus too long, and her hands are like,
She's got white knuckles. I'm gonna go get into my hoopty. Drive off into the sunset. I don't know, man.
I gotta go ride at Shade.
You are gonna do it?
Bowling. I don't know. I gotta go peek outside. My phone. I haven't been able to text Jake and be like, I'm supposed to be there in 10 minutes. It's not
Oh shit.
gonna happen.
Should we wrap up then?
We should wrap up. Does my dude Magic is the only one? I feel bad now.
Wait, but how did he get to it if you didn't post the link?
He must have just clicked on it when it became bold. Oops. I was wondering why no one was in here. I was like, man, I sat here, got everything set up an hour before the webcam kept dying. I figured that out. And then, so it just didn't ping anybody.
Sorry.
I think we should. Oh, no, you leave tomorrow.
I'm going on a trip.
Because we were going to do the pickle reaction video. I'd like to do that separately for my own like production brain.
For sure.
Because we had, did you see, I think T-Fits did the pickle
Yeah,
jam
that
or
looked
two?
pretty sick. He used sausage.
Yes. So I want to include him too.
It's interesting that you chose to do a 3-stage breading process. That was very interesting. And your first stage was cornstarch. I'm interested. You got my attention.
But yeah, I want the pickle reaction video to be its own thing. Somebody was talking about injecting the cheese in the pickle.
Magic toaster. I think he did.
Also, like,
Cheese
the
injection.
fucking burger shit got so greasy that I wouldn't want that again. I would prefer like a prosciutto or something. It was just like oozing grease, and then it became so like the main flavor, which I don't want. It's like,
But that's why mustard and pickles and onions are so important to that dish.
yeah,
Because
For
it is
sure.
so rich.
yes.
It's true.
What do you mean you were right? What if you pickle the cheese?
Ah,
That sounds yucky. I'll try it.
like a
but that sounds
pickled
gross.
mozzarella stick.
Yeah, what do you mean? What the fuck do you mean?
Can you pickle cheese?
I don't. It doesn't sound like you can. It sounds like it would just.
You'd have to use like halloumi. Wouldn't it disintegrate?
I don't fucking know. Dude, I love halloumi. I love halloumi.
Yeah.
Halloumi, bloomy. Halloumi. Please, bloomy.
You and me.
Vinegar coleslaw is an overlooked burger topping.
That's a pulled pork sandwich topping, bro.
That is a pulled pork sandwich topping. You can pickle cheese?
You can pickle eggs, but that don't mean I'm gonna do it.
Oh, brine cheese. Well,
You
duh.
can pickle my butt.
You can pickle Megan's butt. Do you know that, Corgi? Oh, also, Corgi, since you're on here, I wanted to shout you out because I have fucking removed the YouTube shit from Ruby's Brainscape. And I'm like, we can only watch a movie. We can only watch a movie. And then you realize how many movies you have access to when you have a PlayStation. It's
Nice.
infinite. Because I just say like, doesn't work anymore, babe. YouTube is broken.
YouTube's gone. What made you pull the plug?
Because I need to change to the next video every 2.5 minutes.
Oh.
I was like, yo, babe, not doing this. Mm-hmm. So it's like YouTube can be for your iPad when I've got an appointment or whatever. I need to get some work done. But shout out Corgi for just like, she's watched Matilda. She's watched that 3 times. She fucking loves that movie.
That's a good one.
Cat in the Hat. She watched the whole thing of that. So it's just nice to see that it's got to be the right balance. If it's all animated, she's not into it. And she's so over it. But if it's like...
But Matilda's like fantastical live action.
Yes, and she can comprehend enough of it to where it's an interesting...
Plus Matilda's so cute and relatable.
Where's World War Z? Dude, Ruby would fuck with that. She loves zombies.
World
She's
War
always
Z?
loved zombies.
Too violent.
He said, my kid has watched World War Z 4 times, but Bluey gave her nightmares. I can't get Ruby on the Bluey train.
I don't know what Bluey is.
It's
Sounds
like
bad.
a Davis dog family. Like they look just like Davis.
Huh.
Where's World War Z streaming?
Then you can read about the 10th man theory that I brought up during the podcast.
I read that book, but I have a very extreme fast garbage chute for media, except for The Simpsons because it raised us. But that's the only thing. There's some X-Files.
Cry check.
Netflix. PG-13 version. Good to know. You're going to be busy, but you're coming back on Monday.
Correct.
You're going out of town.
Yeah, I'll be here Tuesday morning.
Just trying to think what we should do. The pickle jamma. We'll come up with it.
I have a little bit more work to do on my mini kitchen.
Okay, good.
Laser Punk's Tyler thing. Mini kitchen. Not the one in service of Rubbish Cook, the one that I'm making with Tyler.
Mini kitchens are in your purview.
Interesting. I wonder why. Minis
Jake
have always
Blind
been
has
an
the
obsession of Bide.
You know what's crazy about Jake? He eats. We've eaten many meals together. He is done in like a minute.
Yeah,
I
that's
look
a
down and I'm like-
common thing for...
I'm like, I haven't even started.
Probably all the servicemen eat like that too.
Probably, yeah. All right, guys, thanks for joining in the last 11 minutes. It's my fault. My fault. Well, it's like funny. I put all the effort into making sure everything worked, and I had 2 streams that died, so I didn't post it. So it was my 3rd draft on Discord. This is what I fucking get. That's what I fucking get.
Oh, well.
All right.
You're with us in spirit.
Toaster did enjoy it all. You lucky bastard. Blessed.
Bliss.
All right. Full Metal, I was going to reach out to you about t-shirt printings for children. I don't know what sizes you need, but I'm going to get those
3XL.
fucking t-shirts started.
Mini.
I'm printing them
3XL.
myself. I decided.
How?
Printing all of them myself. With a screen and some ink.
Do you have that?
I can get it.
Here.
I went to school for screen printing. Might as well just fucking make it myself.
Let's go.
Let's go. Bye, guys.
Bye.